Good evening. I'll now call the City of Cannon Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, August the 19th to order. Roll call.
McCusker.
Yeah.
Sholem.
Here.
Madsen.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Holst.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Robinson.
Here. All please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the last City Council meeting for the month of August 2014. This time, the chair will take a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. It's time we'll move on to public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the minutes, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you'd sign in for us there, Glenn.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Schultz, and I'm glad Brenda's here right now because I don't know if I'm going to need some help or not with my throat the way it is right now. But I think maybe I'm here. It's a mute point right now because I talked to Greg, and we were just going and finally got an answer. For 2.5 years I've been making phone calls and never had an answer on my driveway. And the pictures don't show up right now with all the pock marks that are in there, and I can pass them around, but there are all, I don't know if the zoom in would make a difference, or but some of their holes are better than 1/4 of an inch deep, and silver dollar in size, and there are many all the way up and down the driveway. But having talked to Greg, he said that he has received a call from Tom, and they will be coming up and looking at my driveway. I know it's not a pretty sight up there, and it's all new, and so I'm hoping that something can be done. Councilman McCusker has been up there and looked at it. That was a couple of years ago that you were there, and I've never gotten a call back from any of my calls to Aaron was the first guy I called, and of course he can't call back now. He's left, but I do know that communication now, after talking to Greg, has gone through, and I hope something can be done, because it's just a shame after the whole new street and the curbs and the driveways and the amount of money that we had to spend. I'm not complaining about, because I thought the price was very fair, but it's still a lot of money to have a job that was ended up the way it is. So. Thank you.
Glenn, if you don't get any satisfaction with this, please let us know sooner than later so that we can get this resolved.
Okay. And Greg, you could probably relay on that.
What he's talking about is the 2011 West Side project. We got a number of driveways that are popping, the concrete's popping, and a lot of it was done in 11 and some was done in early 2012. So Glenn's on the list. I got a list of probably 12.5 or better driveways that I sent to the contractor, and he's going to look at it with his supplier and get back to me. I'll follow up. I sent that list to him last week. I'll follow up here maybe next week if I haven't heard anything yet, and we'll go from there. So it's not all of them, And it's not the curb, it's just a lot of the driveways, the aprons and or some of the concrete driveways, the flat work. And it's, we'll go next, his neighbors in the alley look good, but then his is one of the worst ones up there. But he's on the list, it's been sent on, and I'll follow up on that. And once I have more, I'll let staff know and give Glenn a call. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, Glenn.
Thanks,
Like
Glenn.
to stay, just not feel-
Thanks, Glenn. Okay, at this time, we're going to, got one other person wants to speak?
Roger Tittle, 1218 Minnesota Street West. I also talked to Greg on my driveway back in March, right after the freeze started coming through and my driveway started popping. I haven't had much calls in return. I've talked to Tom a few times, and I was just kind of wondering what kind of resolution. I've heard that they've contacted, 2 months ago they contacted the contractor, but we still haven't had any resolution on it. I was just kind of like Glenn, wondering where we're at.
You got him down?
Yeah, no, him and Glenn are probably the two worst ones up there, and they're on the list. And like I said, I'll follow up with Henches here next week if I don't hear, and we'll get it done. It drug on a little longer, but we still are in the warranty period, and I wanted to make sure I had reviewed all of them out there and had a comprehensive list. So anybody that contacted the city, or the other ones I saw, they were on the list, and that got sent to them last week, and I'll follow up here in a week or so if I don't hear.
Let's make sure that we get Henches while they're still in town.
My second issue is the holding pond by the fairgrounds. A lot of mosquitoes up there. They said they've been dropping pellets in there. I haven't been able to use my deck all summer. The mosquitoes have been so bad. I've been trying to spray. That hasn't worked. I was wondering if they could at least mow around the pond. I know they said they can't mow it because it's been wet in there. But along that fence line, the grass is 2.5, 3 feet tall. And the areas that aren't the pond, they should be able at least to mow them to keep some of the mosquitoes, keep the breeze going through there.
Ron, is that something you can talk to Tom about?
Yeah, I'll pass that along to Tom.
Okay.
If they can spray or do something up there besides the pellets, just to try to control the mosquitoes a little bit.
Yeah. We'll have Tom, Ron will get a hold of Tom at Public Works, and hopefully we can get that remedied for you.
Okay.
I know it's tough. I
know it's been a bad year. It's been wet, so it's just something that, even if they can mow around that fence, we mow up to the fence. If they can mow that berm where they put the trees and stuff, just you can barely see the trees half the time because the weeds are so tall. So.
okay. Yep, we'll have them take a look at that.
Thank you.
Maybe
Yep.
you could meet with Tom sometime up there and give me your thoughts on that, what's going on. Call down to Public Works or call Ron. He'll set that up for you. And your driveway pop-off thing, I guess, on an issue like this, when the public out there has an issue, sometimes things get lost in the cracks around here. I know I brought this up to Aaron, and I think I put it on the list that I gave Ron of about 20 things when he came. I remember asking Aaron twice if something is being followed up and done on that, and I was told both times that they were. So I sit here tonight, I'm a little bit surprised because there hasn't been a response. So on issues like this, don't be afraid to call down here in a week or two and say, I haven't heard nothing yet, what's going on. Sometimes you got to stir the pot a little.
Well, I've tried making calls. I've contacted Tom a few times. I haven't been able to get hold of Greg. Tom's called me back and just said that it's in process, but nobody's ever called me back when I've asked for it. What's going on? Give me an update at least, saying that we're waiting for the contractor, we're waiting for this. It's just kind of in limbo. That's why I decided to finally come. I was out of town the last meeting, so I decided to come to this one. So
We're glad you did, because we can't fix things if we don't know they're broken.
thank you.
Thanks. Okay, anybody else wishing to address this under public input? This time, we're going to skip the ceremony at this time, and we're going to move on to item 7, public hearings, resolution 2091, vacating part of Stoughton Street. Mr. Maroney?
Thank you. We have published notice in the Cannon Falls Beacon, as well as sent out mail notice to the property owners immediately adjacent to the proposed area to be vacated, which is Stoughton Street between 1st and 2nd Streets. Council's received in their packet a map indicating in a blue tone the area of Stoughton Street that's been requested to be vacated. At this point, pending further research, we're going to recommend to the City Council that we recess the public hearing from tonight until the second meeting in September 16th at 6:30. We want to make sure that no portion of this street has been vacated previous to this public hearing, and we're not entirely certain from the research that we've completed so far whether it has or has not. So I think rather than move forward and vacate this, probably if we had another month or so, we can do some more research and come back and reopen the public hearing on the 16th and report to the council what we found at that time. So I don't think there's any reason for action tonight pending additional time and research.
Okay. So at this time, we will recess the public hearing. Do I have a motion, or do we need to open it first?
I've got just one comment. I think in respect to Councilmember McCusker that he is one of the petitioners, so I think the minutes should reflect that, so you don't come back and...
Yeah, I'd like to say something before we vote on it, Robbie.
Okay, well, we need to either recess it and then, because we won't vote on it tonight, we'll just vote to recess it.
Right. But if I could just say something for a little bit, then I don't have to deal with it next time it comes up again. That'd be all right?
Sure.
Yeah, I just want the council to know that I don't have a problem with this either way, however it goes. Mark Stedman was a friend of mine and a neighbor who came to me about a little over a year ago and said that he would like that vacated. So I took and went to Aaron with it, and Aaron was supposed to get it started and get it going and stuff. In the meantime, this is probably another one of those issues that didn't get dealt with. And then last winter, Mark passed away. Then his wife, Gail, got a hold of me this spring and said that she would still like that done, and that was one of his last things that he wanted done, and we didn't get it done, and I promised her I would follow up and see that we got it done this time. So I'm open either way. I'm going to abstain from voting, but this is mostly about Gail and Mark down here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Roy. Okay, so at this time, we are going to recess the public hearing until September the 16th to allow more time for research to make sure that it has not been vacated in the past. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, that's going to move us on to the consent agenda. Items of this area of the agenda may be adopted, or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before approving. For the folks at home, I will read the consent agenda. Item A is the just and correct claims for the accounting period ending August the 15th, 2014. Item B are the meeting minutes for the August 5th, 2014 City Council meeting. Item C are the meeting minutes for the August 5th, 2014 City Council work session. Item D is the hiring of EMS applicants for the ambulance service. Item E is ZipRail authorizing response to MidDOT. Item F, Resolution 2092, identifying past franchise compliance and performance problems and future community cable-related deeds and interests. And item G, application for payment number 1 from Hard Drives Incorporated for the 318th Street project. I am going to be bringing down item 8E, which will become item 9B. Are there any other items that anybody wishes to bring down? Seeing as there are none, Chair will take a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 8E.
So moved.
And I will second.
Have a motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That moves us on to council business. Resolution, item A is Resolution 2093, ordering feasibility report for the West Side 2 Street Improvement Project. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. There has been discussion that you're planning on doing the 2015 West Side 2 improvements. With that in mind, and there was a discussion earlier at one of the council meetings that we should be discussing that, starting that process to discuss it in late summer, early fall. So we are bringing it forward now. If you want to proceed with looking into the feasibility of doing this for 2015, it would be advantageous to start now. We could, if we start now, because of the 429 special assessment process, we could have a bid opening approximately the April 7th council meeting, plus or minus a meeting, and that would work. Now, I know Linnell and I also talked about maybe deferring an expense for another year, and I talked a little bit about that with Greg last week as far as the crucialness of doing the 15 project with all those streets. And maybe, I know Greg was planning on just kind of going through some of the project, or going through a project map, which is in your packet, and maybe discussing the project itself. And then if in fact you want to proceed with ordering a feasibility report, there's a resolution in your packet for consideration.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As Ron stated, the 2009 capital improvement program we put together identified 6 major projects. They're shown on the map here: East Side 1, East Side 2, West Side 1, West Side 2, the 2 northern projects. And then the central project and the southern one were more of a fill-in, not necessarily a large project. The plan was to do those every other year, and those were following on odd years. We just finished 2013 stuff this spring, and now would be the time to start. If we wanted to do the construction in 2015, now would be the time to get started with the report to follow the 429 process, so we could do the soil work, bring the report back to council, order the improvement hearing, and if we were going to go ahead and do the plans, and order the improvement, we could still get the survey done before winter, do the design, and get the bids out early after the first of the year. Try to take advantage of a good bidding climate, being one of the first projects out. So that's we're here tonight with that project. The West Side 2 project, in general, is Hoffman and Mill Streets over by the former, soon-to-be former hospital, and then also some work on Park Street on the south side of 19. Most of it is a full reconstruct, sanitary sewer, water main. There's some of them streets don't have storm sewer. Most of them have curb now, but are in rough shape. So it'd be a full reconstruct of most of those streets. As you can see by the color coding on the map, all those streets were rated in 2009 as part of this study. And kind of using blue and green as kind of a 5 out of a rating of 10. Some are well under 5, and some are at about 5. Obviously, Dow Street, we was redone in 2001. That doesn't need to be touched. We wouldn't be worrying about Dow Street. And probably there's a portion of York Street that's in fairly good shape too, so that probably wouldn't be included. But we listed them all in there at this point just to see what we wanted to do. So that being said, that's kind of the process following the 429 would be to order the feasibility study. We come back with the feasibility report in a month and a half, present it. At that time, the council would entertain another resolution ordering the improvement hearing. At that time, the notices are sent out to the affected property owners of the anticipated cost. We hold the hearing, take input on the improvement. At that point, then the council would decide whether to order the improvement, which would be starting the plans and specs. And I'd anticipate that maybe late October or something if we moved ahead on that schedule tonight. With the thinking in mind that if we're going to do the project in 2015, we'd like to be bidding it in February or March, so we have the full summer construction to do the work. In the estimate from 2009, the project was about $2.8 million, so another good-sized project. That doesn't mean we have to do all of it. We could scale it back, but this was a real high-level estimate. if we got started on the report, the first thing I'd do would be to sit down with Tom and Public Works and verify water main condition and material and sewer condition and material, and what streets we need to do replacement, utilities, which ones we don't, and then work our way up to the which streets have the bad pavement and stuff like that, and put the report together, similar to the west side report you saw and then the east side report you saw a year and a half ago.
In West Side 2, that's the area where the hospital is going to be, as I understand it, demolished next year sometime. How would that impact this project if we went forward?
Depending on the timing with the construction, I believe the plan is for that hospital parcel to go back to residential use. So when we reconstruct the street, it'd be a great time to put in new water and sewer services to all those future lots. So timing-wise, it could work depending on their schedule. There may be some issues when they do construction and we do construction, kind of fighting with each other. But I think that could be worked out. But the sooner we knew their layout or future layout, we could incorporate it in the plans. And as far as the future of, is it Floyd, Dave? The possible some of Floyd being vacated, that's something we could either accommodate in the plans or adjust after the fact. They're not an insignificant or not a significant issue. I mean, we're talking 5 or 6 water services, which we'd anticipate putting in anyway, so we'd have quantities for it if we had to increase that number or decrease it in construction. If we didn't get those answers until, let's say, May or June, that could be adjusted in the field. It wouldn't impact really the bones of the project, if you will. We're still going to put in the same water main size and sewer in Mill Street, whether the hospital's there or whether there's 5 or 6 homes there. We might take out some of the work on Floyd potentially if that did get vacated, but we'd definitely work with them and their schedule and try to accommodate as much as we could into the plan if we moved ahead prior to bidding. But I don't think I'd want to wait with the plans if we were waiting for some of their information, because we could adjust to it.
So what we would be doing tonight, if we approve this, is just we're approving the basically just the beginnings of the project to get the
the first step to follow the 429 process. The first step is to order the feasibility report, which we put the report together. So we've taken the costs from the 2009 report, if you will, like a 30,000 foot snapshot. Now we're just looking at this project at more of a 10,000 foot estimate on this is what this is going to cost. These are the benefits. These are the cons. This is what the schedule would be. We'd have in there estimated preliminary assessments on the unit and on a foot basis to consider in that report. It doesn't mean we're doing the plans. It doesn't mean we're constructing the project next year. It's just the first step. And even getting to the point to having the report done and accepted, you know, if at that point the council decided, well, let's move, maybe we should wait a year on the construction, it's not lost ground at that point, and even the plans may not be lost ground at that point. So there were no means putting a shovel in the ground after tonight.
I just think at this point, I mean, I don't see a problem with going ahead with the feasibility report if we're deciding to do that, but I mean, just looking at everything that's been going on in the city the last year and a half or 2 years, I mean, and looking at budgets and everything, I almost to the point of sitting back and saying, okay, let's push this off one more year so that we can allow the growth that we've gotten over the last year and a half to kind of catch up with us, see where our revenues are, see what's coming in, and kind of seeing what we can do at that point going forward, because, I mean, it's going to require us to bond and borrow a bunch more money again. I'd like to see where our revenues are as going forward so that we can work on, see where our debt is at that point. With the little bit that we'll get, from the new Mayo Hospital Clinic, from many other businesses that come to town, to allow those businesses that came on board last year to see what that's going to do as we go forward. I'm thinking. We might want to start looking along those lines. I mean, before we jump feet first into another big project at this time. I mean, maybe pushing it out another year wouldn't kill us at this point.
But doing the feasibility study at this point, even if at a later date the council wants to possibly delay it a year, we would still have everything in place that we would need to know.
What I would see if we went down that path, would be okay. We'll prepare the report, present it in a month, 6 weeks or whatever. The council could accept it. And if you're hesitant to moving forward, maybe not even entertain the improvement hearing, because once you hold the hearing, you've set the clock. Now you've got 6 months to start the project. So you could just receive the report and then call for an improvement hearing, you know, a year from now, 9 months from now. We might just update the unit prices in the report to reflect, but other than that, the rest of it's in there. We already have all the parcels identified. We have the improvements identified. So I think that's a route to go.
I've got a couple of things, Robbie. Wow, this is one of those nights where it's really hard to be on this console. I have problems with this, Greg, and please don't take this personally, but I've just been just so disappointed the last 2-3 years where everything is gone. I kept a list here of over 13 problems we've had in the last 2 to 3 years. I can read some of them to you to give you a background with my thinking. Over at Amesbury, we got a storm sewer that was never put in right. We got a holding pond that wasn't put in right. Every time it rains, large amounts, the city crew has to go over there to the loading docks and suck the water out of it because it backs up because it wasn't installed right. I keep bringing this up over the last 3 years, and it's kind of like our other things tonight. I've dealt with all these pop-off things. I keep asking for a response. I don't get any. If you go over there at Pine Ridge, over there along County Road 17, the storm sewer dumps into the walkway. I've asked to correct that, which is probably as simple as just moving it to the other side of the road where there's a waterway. Every time the walkways flood, that's everything coming off the street that's falling off of cars. That seems to never get dealt with. We built the fire hall down there. We got a floor that's 5 inches off from the other floors. We got a handicap shower stall on second floor, but we don't have an elevator or any way for a handicap to get up there. We built the library. It was brought up previously at the library with Gail that the design was not going to be good. There was going to be ice problems. And we not only have icing problems, we have leaking problems. Nobody seems to give us an answer on that. We've had different meetings at different times about different things. One of them was just on Raw Bristol here a couple weeks ago. I asked for 2 or 3 different looks at that instead of the way we're going, but I never get no follow-ups. It took us 7 months to fix that water main problem up by First English. We got new water mains up on the east end of town, and 3 of them froze up last winter. I keep following up with that. I don't get answers. Citizens ask me about it, and I just tell them I keep trying to get answers. The biggest problem I have is nobody wants to take responsibility. It's all the blame game when I go to people. The school up there, the water main sheared off the first or second year after it was put in. I hooked up a sewer and water main this week that when we get out there, it's fairly obvious the sewer line should have been down 10 feet. When we got out there, it was down 8.5. We actually had to dig another 20 feet towards the main to get the line lowered. Sometimes on these street projects, we've done these street projects, and then you guys get them done, and then within a month I get a call, and for some reason the street projects were raised or lowered or something, and then the alleys are a problem. So I mentioned quite a few times that you can no longer just deal with these street problems, you got to deal with the alley problems. We've got 2 houses down here by the city hall that when we put the new street in out here, I asked you, Greg, and I asked Aaron and I asked Tom to do follow-ups because they said there's no way why we got this up. We're not putting sewer in them houses. And ended up, we didn't do it, and now we need sewer to them houses. And the first thing out of everybody's mouth is what it's cost, and it's their problem. And they keep coming to us for answers. This has been going on with these houses, 2 houses down here. All they're looking for is an answer, and we've been working on this for over 4 months. So I guess I have a real confidence problem, and I don't know how to deal with it, and I sure as hell am not enjoying this. But I want some better assurances that things are going to be done better or more accountable. And the other thing is, I don't know why we don't go out on engineering bids. We got to go out on every other bid that's out there for anything that's done. I don't know if it's because Greg is hired in-house or what that is, but all I know is that I either want to look in a new direction or I want some kind of assurance that things are going to be dealt with better around here. And I don't need an answer tonight, but that's just my feelings where things are at right now. I know in the sewer and water projects, I tried to stay out of it, but the crazy part was to me that we replaced the newest sewer and water pipes we had in the ground. We replaced them first instead of the oldest. I don't quite get that, and I can't seem to ever get any answers. So, Greg, you're a good guy, but this has to be said. I don't know what the answer is. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, at this time,
And I do like your comments, Robbie, about holding off because we will have another 12, 15 new units coming online. They say it can take up to 2 years to get this all built out and everything coming. And we have, I am really scared of our budget this year. And I think we really have to know that before we jump into anything too big. So thanks for those comments.
Yeah, I agree.
and also looking at, with the hospital, understand, we don't know exactly when that's going to come down. I mean, so that we could throw another cog in the wheel as, because they could wait and do it in the fall of next year, right in the middle of that project, or, so, I mean, I don't know if this time is the right time to go ahead with even go ahead with a feasibility study at this time without just going ahead and trying to push it off till next year, once we know a little bit more about what's going on and as we're moving forward. So, I mean, it's up to the council. I mean, I'm just telling you how I feel about it. So, this time, Chair will take a motion to adopting the resolution ordering the feasibility study.
So moved.
I will second.
Okay, I have a motion by Merle, a second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So we'll go ahead with the feasibility report at this time, and then we can look at it from there.
And Greg, you said it would be probably October sometime when we would see that?
Yeah, I wanted to get some soil borings done to see if we have any rock or water issues over there. So those take a while to get lined up. So looking at the meeting schedule, probably not the September meetings, probably maybe shoot for that first October meeting potentially.
And Ron, will we have a better fix on our budgetary situation by then?
Yeah, at least, the financing of those different projects that Linnell and George and I have been working on.
Yeah, because you want to make an informed decision by
Right.
putting those two together. And if we could also, I don't know, Ron, if this would be you or Greg or whatever, sound out the Mayo folks on what kind of schedule they're looking at as far as demolition, timing-wise, because that may be a factor in our decision too.
Yeah.
Right, at this point, we'll move on to item 9B, which is the zip rail authorizing response to MnDOT. Looking at the zip rail thing, I can remember when I first came on the council a while back, folks in Red Wing or not in Red Wing, but Rochester were starting to buzz around a little bit about the zip rail and everything else, and looking at everything that's been going on with these meetings for the zip rail, hearing what some of the county commissioners have to say about the zip rail. I can't see where us as a city, if it's not going to benefit the city of Cannon Falls at all, and the cost that we would have to bear for it, I can't see us approving or supporting it at all. I think that money would be better well spent on our roads and our infrastructure than it would for a $60 train ride that's not even going to stop in Cannon Falls or certain places in the county. So I don't think the citizens or people that live in the county would get any benefit from it. So I mean, I really can't see where we could really support that. Anybody else have anything to say on that?
I just agree.
Yeah, we discussed this at EDA last Wednesday, and it was consensus of the group that zip rail does absolutely nothing for the city of Cannon Falls, and no benefits but lots of cost.
Right.
We thought it was a very bad idea, and I think this council should send something for this, saying that we are definitely against it.
They're saying that roads would be closed. Some school districts would probably have to realign because of it. It's not good.
Keep it out of here. It would divide Cannon not in half, but it would certainly take about, especially on anything west of 52 would be cut off from the town if they chose the 52 route. So.
Hey, just to be clear and follow up with Bill and Morris here too, and the EDA did discuss this last week. I think clearly there was the consensus that Bill's just explained, and what they've asked me to do is to write a letter more in the format of a question to the folks promoting this project, to ask them specifically what, in their view, are the benefits and the negative implications to the city of Cannon Falls if this is built, as opposed to taking a position. So it was more in the form of a question that on behalf of the EDA we'll be writing to them and saying, tell us, we've heard a lot of the negative, we've heard maybe some positive even, but what's in it for Cannon Falls? That was really the question that the EDA was wrestling with at the last meeting, and we kind of followed it up to the council tonight, that if you wish us to include questions on behalf of the council, we would do that, as opposed to taking a position in favor or in opposition at this point.
I think it could go in another county if they want to spend that kind of money. To tell you the truth, I think the state and the federal government needs to look at a different route or a different. I mean, if you look at our transportation budget up at the federal side right now, I mean, it is they're scratching to figure out how to repair roads throughout this country. I know our state transportation system is scratching to try to figure out how to pay for things, and then they're going to take all this money and waste it on something that is not going to benefit but the Mayo Clinic and the Twin Cities. I'll send them a letter right now saying we're against it because there's not going to be any benefit for us.
Well, and that's what Dave touched upon. EDA was why we were going to write a letter. Was, is there any benefits? We cannot think of any offhand ourselves, but but we need to get the reply in. I can't remember when the date was.
22nd of August.
Yeah.
22nd, okay.
And it's like they're just trying to push this through, like the responses and this. It's like they really don't want a response. They just want to do it.
I mean, even in the meeting in Kenyon, I mean, they were trying to stop people from talking when they brought it up the first time. I mean, they were trying to just shut down the meeting and not let citizens, voice their concerns, like they just wanted to run away with it. So I just think that's something that it's got to be brought up. It's got to be handled. I mean, and if you want to put that into the letter also, that the city is very disappointed in the way it's happening, and that without any benefits to Cannon Falls, it's not going to get the support of the city.
Right.
I think the safety issues should be touched upon also.
Yep.
Is how are you going to get personnel,
Right.
whether it's police or ambulance,
Right.
across this thing?
Yep. So there's a lot of things that that have to happen. So
To me, Robbie, what's been brought up to me is if they're going to put it in, put it over on 56. And to me, that's where the power line should have went too. But if you're going to take and put this kind of money into something that I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people a day can go on that thing, and then you have the transportation problems at the end. So I suppose you can look at it, they have rental cars there, and now you do that. I look at it as a train thing up in the cities up there, that they were so bound determined to get that going. And the first 2-3 months they were in business, I don't know how many people got hit with that train and got hurt in car accidents. And I realized this would be probably an overhead thing, but for that kind of money, to ship even 1,000 people a day between the cities and Rochester, I really don't get it. I don't know what the purpose is.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we'll have the chair take a motion to have EDA to include our comments in with your letter.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, that is going to move us on to back up to item 6, ceremonies. So tonight we are going to have the pinning ceremony for our newest officer, Trevor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the council's flexibility in moving things around. In hindsight, it may not have been such a good idea to schedule Trevor for his firearms and use of force training today. As a couple of the council noted, they saw him earlier and he was looking pretty sweaty. I'm pleased to say that he no longer is sweaty, and he's dressed in his uniform and quite ready to come forward and be sworn in this evening. I'm glad to be able to have Trevor joining our force. He was a reserve officer for us and did an excellent job in that, and I anticipate nothing less as he becomes one of the sworn staff of our citizens. And I think the importance of this ceremony and swearing him in has been outlined previously, but it really is a big deal when we have somebody new joining our force, and more importantly, it's a very big deal for Trevor and his family. He's put a lot of personal effort into getting to this point, and I'm proud to have him out there shortly, serving and protecting our community in all the ways that I'm confident he will do so. So, Trevor, if you would come up, Mayor's going to come down here to administer the oath, and then Trevor's going to pin on your badge. Once he gets done with that, I'll give them the badge to pin on.
How you doing? Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Trevor, so if you'll raise your right hand. I, Trevor Sullivan,
I, Trevor Sullivan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota.
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota.
I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties
I will faithfully and impartially discharge all the duties
of police officer of the Cannon Falls Police Department to the best of my ability.
of the police officer of the Cannon Falls Police Department to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Trevor. see them shoved right in. Which changes the Minneapolis on there. You don't have to draw blood tonight.
Might have to get Mama up here now.
There you go. Congratulations. Thank you.
Let's give him a big hand. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's good. Nice to see.
And Trevor, welcome to the City of Cannon Falls Police Department, and we know you'll do a good job for the city. You did a good job with the reserves, and it's good to have somebody from Cannon Falls on the force, and again, welcome. This time we'll move on to reports. Mr. Maroney.
Nothing at this time.
Greg? Brenda? Chief?
The only thing that I want to add is, believe it or not, the summer is almost coming to an end. We'll be to Labor Day weekend in a little over a week. And with that will come lots of traffic, traveling, but more importantly, school will start up on Tuesday following. And I just want to remind people, you're not used to seeing groups of kids hanging out, in the morning hours, and then again after school. They're going to be rushing. They're going to be focusing on lots of other things in cars and stuff going on. And just pay attention to them. Be a safe driver, as they may not be being safe as pedestrians for a few days while they get back into the groove of the school year. That's all I have.
I have nothing.
Merle?
Nothing.
Nothing. I have nothing.
Leroy?
I got a whole page, but I'll email you, Ron. I've said enough tonight.
Nothing.
Do I need to upgrade the storage on my computer?
Yep. Like the chief said, school will be starting soon. Unfortunately, summer's coming to an end. So, other than that, let's get ready for winter. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.